Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. So in this episode, we're going to work on our index view. So I don't want to waste your guys' time. There's quite a lot to do. So let's get started. Right, so just pause the video if I'm going a little bit too fast, but I'm a slow typer so you guys can follow along. So let's create a div with a flex of width of full. Let's just do a flex width full. Okay, and inside there, we're just going to give it padding of 3. And inside that, we're just going to give it a space x of 2. Right, so this is responsible. Let's quickly go to our index right here. This is responsible for all these kind of things. So if we, for our search box, for our PerPage, for our order by, and for our order ascending kind of stuff. Right, so that's what we're going to do. So this div is kind of, think of it as our heading. So inside this one is we're going to create our search box. So this is the first one we're going to do. So search box. Okay, and we're just going to create a div. We're going to give it a class of width of 3, 6, or you can use 1, 2. Right, the next thing is in here we're just going to have an input, and we're going to bind that basically to our wire model of search right here. So let's quickly do that. So wire model, we're going to add a debounce. We don't want too many requests to the service with every keystroke. We want that to happen after every 300 milliseconds, and we want to add the search field right there. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of classes we're going to add. So you can be creative, you can style it however you want. I'm just going to show you guys a few. So let's quickly go relative. Right, width or full. Right, I'm quickly going to add some styling, and if you guys want to add them as well, please do. Right, so there's a bunch of styling, so if you guys want to copy it, please pause the video and just copy it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a placeholder in here, and we can just say search tags. Okay, that makes sense, just like that. Okay, so the next thing, so that's all done. So that's basically for our search box. That's the first div. Now the next one in here is going to be for our order by. So let's give it a class as well. So I'm just going to give this one a width of 1/6, just like this. So I think, yeah, that's fine. Let's do the next one. That is the relative. Anyway, let's quickly do a relative in here as well. Give it a width of 6. The next one right here, this is going to be a select field. Okay, so let's quickly do a select. All right, and we're going to give it a name in a second. All right, now the select field, we're going to wire bind that as well. So wire model, and we're going to link that to the order by. Order by, like this. We're going to give it an ID of, let's say, order by. This is an ID. We can remove the name. We don't need that. Okay, and we're going to give it some classes as well. So I'm going to add the classes in here. So I'm just going to do relative, width or full, and some extra ones. Right, so that's it all done. So the next thing in here is we want to add the option fields. Right, the value for the first one, this one will be for the ID. Let me just do this for the ID, and we're just going to do ID. Okay, let's just copy this down. This one, actually, this will be a little bit easier. Let's do an option with Emmet, because then I can just press tab. So this will be the name, and this one will be the name. Okay, so that's that one. So the other option that we have is for the created ad. Okay, so we can just do it like that. Created ad. Okay, so that's our order by. So we can, if you have additional fields, obviously you can add them in here. So that's our order by. So let's just make sure I close that div. Right, so the next one that we have, you know what we can do? We can add a downward arrow as well. So let's quickly do that. So absolute. And what we want to do is we're going to insert y, let's say of 0, and we just want to give it a right of 0 as well, and then we just want to give it a flags, and then items center because I'm going to use the same one over and over again. So I'm just going to do a px of 2. Let me just do this. Okay, just like this. Padding x of 2 and a text gray of, let's say, 700. And pointer events none. Right, so I'm just going to copy this one down as well, but see, we're don't have to actually redo it again. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. That's our order by. Now this one is going to be the order ascending or descending. So let's quickly do that. So OrderAsc. So let's quickly create a div for this one. This will be relative as well. So with a width of 106. And so what we can do to make this a whole lot easier, let's copy the top one and paste it in here. Right, instead of Y model order by, we're going to call on this one right here. Let me just show you. So we're going to call on this model right there. So I'm just going to copy it just to make sure I don't do any spelling mistakes. Like this. Right, so we link that order by. All right, so now the fields that we're going to work with right here is going to be 1 and a 0. Now the 0 is false, okay, and a 1 is true. And to be true, we do ascending, and this one will be descending. All right, so let's move on to the next one, is the PerPage one. So let's quickly do that. So order by. So let's just copy this whole div down as well. So just to make it easier for us. And this is going to be PerPage. Okay, so we're going to keep everything basically the same. The only difference would be we need to Y model this to be the PerPage. Okay, so just make sure you name it the same, otherwise you're going to get errors. Okay, just make sure it's the same. So spelling mistakes can creep quite easily in. So let's start off with the first one. Let's delete this. Put an option. Okay, the first option, this one will have a value of 5, and we're just going to do 5. Copy it down. I'm just going to do it. Do how many ever you want. All right, for me, I'm just going to do these 3 right here. So 5, 10, and 20. Let's quickly see if we can view this header. Right, so as you can see, we got our search tags right there. We got our ID, we got our ascending, and we got our 5, 10, and 25 right here. So everything is good. So the next part right here is we need to loop over our tags and display them accordingly. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to minimize the head section, and underneath this, I'm going to create a div with an overflow of hidden again, and with a shadow. Right, just like that. Now, this is going to be responsible for our table. So I'm just going to add a table in here, right, and I'm going to give it, just let's start styling quickly the table actually. So let's give this a class of width of full. And extra. Okay, that's our table. The next thing is we need to do our table head. Okay, so the table head, and inside that we're going to have a table row, and each of that is going to have a table like this. All right, so we're going to have one for the ID. We're going to style them in a second. ID, name, and created, add date, and then obviously the actions button. All right, so what I've done is I added some font bold, all the kind of styling to my table head. You guys can obviously pause the video and just add them in there and add some styling right there. So that's our table head right down. The next one is our table body. Okay. All right, so let's give it a class of text extra small and divide Y. Let's say, yeah, just divide Y. And then we can just do divide gray 200. Not too much. And then we can just give it a background of indigo 50. right? Just like that. Right, the next thing we're going to do in here is we're going to add a table row, which we're going to loop now in a second over all the tags. We just want to give this a class of white space, no rep. Okay, so let's just quickly do an add for each. So each tags as tag. Okay, now we're just going to bring this in there. Right, and then we're going to give each one of them a table data. Okay, now let's start off just with a class actually. So this one is for the ID. Let's give it a padding of 4. All right, for the ID, what we're going to do is we're just going to get the tag, and we just want to get the ID of the tag. So let me just quickly open my tag model, and let's see if I'm referencing the ID. I'm just quickly going to get that. So public function ID, and this is going to be an integer. Okay, and I'm just going to return right. So after the ID is the name. Just going to do that. The name, and after that is the created add date. This one is going to be the created add, like this. If the method inside there, I'm just referring to this created add date. So when I'm calling on this method, it's just going to bring me with a formatted created add date like that. Okay, so just like this. Right, the last one right here is for our action buttons, and I'm just going to get create. I'm just going to call this one just delete. Yeah, just action buttons for now, because when we get to the update, edit, and delete part right there, we're going to make use of this right here. So let's quickly see if we can view all the tags. But before I do that, actually, I need to actually display the links. So underneath the table right here, I'm just going to create another div, and I'm going to call this one right, and then we're just going to do tags links. Right, and we're just going to give it some padding of 2 and BG indigo 50. Righty now, so let's quickly go and see if we can actually view this page. Okay, so let's do that. Right, so this is basically the index view right here. You can obviously style it however you guys want. So let's start off. As you can see, we only see 5 right now. Let's change it to 10. As you can see, we see 10 tags. Let's make it 20. As you can see, we view them like that. So as you can see right now, it's ascending. So let's do a descending. As you can see, it descends them. Right, so let's keep it right there, and we just descend them by the name, okay, or by the created add date, everything, or by the ID. Everything works quite nice. So let's quickly do the search functionality. So P, all right, as you can see, it searched it right there. All right, so if you guys have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, please leave it in the comment section. I'll gladly assist you guys, and see you guys in the next one. Adios.